Richie Furay, 5 hours ago, on July 6, 2022. Random thoughts, so here I am, a couple of days after celebrating Independence Day with my family. Almost all 20 of them. Grilling burgers and dogs and setting up the folding chairs and watching the fireworks. A family tradition, when many of us get together to remember and be thankful for the blessing of living in the greatest country in the world. How interesting it comes on the heels of a month-long event, because I can't seem to see what's being, quote, celebrated, Pride Month. Still trying to figure out why it's necessary to set aside an entire month of activities to acknowledge something as controversial as this. I've watched the TV footage, and it's perplexing and disgusting. There's an entire month that derogates our society. Yep, I'm referring to those who choose to sensationalize their outlandish cause, not those who have chosen a lifestyle contrary to biblical doctrine but remain civil. We'll keep that in mind because I believe I may fall under that civil side of this debate, but I know I'm wading in deep water and trying to figure out why an entire month is necessary. Maybe if we set aside an entire month to find praise and thanksgiving for the blessing this nation affords us, with the standard, we wouldn't be in this tragic situation we're in now. How do we allow ourselves to get so out of whack? How do we allow the enemies of our republic to get a strong hold on our culture and society that we're now turned upside down, where evil is good and good is evil? Surely one can see the difference, can't they? It appears we've allowed ourselves to fall from grace. We've been silent when the radicals have shouted their message of destruction. We've become complacent as a society. Because of that, become the complicit in the plan to destroy from within what was once the greatest nation on earth. How did our leaders drift so far away? It's a pretty long post. There's some biblical references. Kind of get the idea there. Let's put the camera on me now. Hi, everybody. Hi, Richie. Long time no see. Some of you know me, some of you don't. So I'm going to introduce myself for those of you who don't. My name is Jennifer McCreath, and some of you knew me as Jefferson McCreath. Yes, I went through a gender transition in 2008. I first met Richie in 2004 because he was a member of what at that time had become my favorite country rock band. Yeah, someone as young as me actually likes 60s music. Not only did I like this music, I liked it so much that I literally would travel internationally to the United States to see live concerts from some of the greatest country rock music artists in the world at that time, the early 2000s. Of course, Poco. If you know Richie Furay, I'm sure you know who Poco is. Of course, Poco evolved out of the destruction of a band known as the Buffalo Springfield that featured Canadians as well as Americans coming together to blend folk music with rock music, and they put out a lot of really good songs. Had a couple of hit records, and then, of course, unfortunately, that band, I guess they just couldn't get along. Things didn't mesh. People had different goals, different ideas, so Neil Young went one way with Stephen Stills, and Richie Furay and Jim Messina went the other way, and hence we had the launch of Poco. And Poco was such a great band that a lot of other people tried to copy their ideas. And a lot of those people ended up making it big in the music business. #1 hit records, millions of dollars. Unfortunately for Poco, though, well, great in terms of grassroots for the genre, they didn't per se have a lot of hits. And unfortunately, that caused the band members, one by one, to leave for so-called greener pastures. One of which was whom, of course, Richie Furay. Anyway, I got interested in country rock music, and I was introduced to Poco, ironically enough, through research of members of the Eagles, and I like good music. I don't care whether or not it charted #1 or charted number 147. And when I found out that not only was Poco doing a special live concert in Nashville, Tennessee, but that they were filming it for an upcoming release, an official live album, and that guy Richie Furay, who'd quit the band 31 years prior, was coming back for one night only. It's like, I gotta go see this show. I don't care if I live 1,000 miles away. I don't care if I live in a different country. I'm gonna rent a car. I'm gonna drive all day, and I'm gonna drive all night. And I'm gonna get that ticket, and I can go and see the show. And hopefully afterwards, get to shake hands and meet all the members of the band and thank them for all the great music. Well, it turned out to be a lot more than that for me. While I was in Nashville, I met something known as Poconuts. These are fans of the band who literally travel all over the country to see the band play as many live concerts as possible. And yeah, it kind of became a bit of an obsession for me, a bit of an addiction. And it was kind of ironic because most of the Poco fans were the same age as members of the band. We're talking baby boomers here. And so here's this younger Canadian who's 30 years younger than everyone else, traveling all over to see this band, and I think it kind of gave me a little bit of notoriety. People got to know me. Rusty Young of the band Poco saw me sitting in the front row, 3 concerts in a row, and made a joke that I might be a stalker. So hence, what a great nickname, huh? I was the stalker. Most of these shows, of course, were in the East Coast. Then I really shocked everybody when I drove 48 hours from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, to Los Angeles, California, and showed up for what I believe was 4 or 5 Poco/Richie Furay double bill concerts in a row. And this infamous youngster from Canada in the East End of the continent was now touring Los Angeles. And bottom line, between 2004 and 2007, I physically attended, I believe it was 30 Poco concerts, plus several solo concerts put on by Richie Furay, Jim Messina, and other former members of the band. And I made it quite clear, I'm not just a Poco fan, but I'm a fan of all of these people and all of their music. And these band members have always been rather accessible to the fans, so you go to all these shows, you get to meet them after the show. Sometimes we all end up at the restaurant next door and everyone's having some chicken wings, and you get to know these guys. And back then I considered members of the band to be friends. I'm not just a fan, we're friends. It's a family, this Poconut group. It got to the point where Poconuts would meet up. Let's get together before the show. Oh, you're traveling. Why don't you come over to my house? We'll have a pizza party. If you need a place to stay, we got an extra room. And it's like, literally became this amazing group to be a part of. And sure, there's a lot of drama within the Poconut community. But what's funny, what's great, is the rivalry between the Poco fans and Eagles fans. Which made it a little tough on me because I consider myself a huge Eagles fan, but at the same time I kind of realized that, you know what, some of the Eagles fans, or at least the most vocal ones, were generally being rude and disrespectful to Poco and some of their other genre mates. It's a lot of pioneers that helped invent country rock that just kind of get drowned out when you have discussions about this type of music. It's mainstream media only cares about hit records. And anyways, it's not moving on. So I know a lot of these Poconuts. In 2007, I had to leave Toronto, Canada, and move far, far away. If you draw a line between New York City and the North Pole, I'm kind of 2/3 of the way up there. I found a job the very northeast tip of Canada, a little island called Newfoundland, which meant I was literally too far away from any of these concerts. So 2007 I said goodbye, and unfortunately have not been to see Poco or any of the members since then. And ironically enough, it was around that time I realized, you know what, I need to go through a gender transition. And I found myself being a part of this big community, which Richie references here, Pride. Let me tell you, Richie, it's like any community. We don't necessarily all want to be lumped together. It's actually the rest of society that kind of puts labels on things. That's what people do. We're creatures of habit. We like to label people. Oh, look at all the big people, the small people. Oh, look at those. These people are all LGBT, so they must be very, very bad and very, very, very different. Well, not really, Richie. I'm surprised. I mean, I see the post. I agree with a lot of the second half of that post, where you go on about corrupt leaders and problems and things like that. But I think the issue here is it's not the gay community or the transgender community that's the root of any of these problems. Why do we have days or weeks, or in this case a month, to stand up and seek some recognition? Yeah, you're right. There's perhaps some behavior at pride parades that might be deemed sexually offensive to some. I certainly don't celebrate Pride Week. I have, however, been involved in education and awareness activities, and I've taken advantage of the time period to bring attention to some really marginalized people who face a lot of hate and discrimination through no fault of their own. Coming out as gay or lesbian is tough enough. Coming out as trans is even more challenging. And I guess you could say I found out who my true friends really were. One of them kind of turned their back on me. Someone I thought was a good friend out there in Boulder, Colorado. Somebody marches up and down the street with a rainbow flag. Is anyone actually getting hurt? No, they're saying, look at me. Yeah, I know, I'm a little different, but guess what? I'm also a person. I just want to live my life without being harassed or discriminated against. We're getting targeted with violence. There was a shooting down in Orlando a couple of years ago. Somebody walked in to a pride-themed event and opened fire, strictly out of hatred. And that's what I'm getting to here. The problem with the United States, the problem I see in the past decade is you had someone like Donald Trump being put into power, a man who was literally out there encouraging discrimination and hatred. He said single out groups, minority groups, and target them. And when his power was questioned in an election, he rallied up the troops and said, you go out there on January 6th. We literally saw violent criminal acts. People were killed because Donald Trump couldn't accept the fact that maybe he had lost the election. What's the biggest difference between Canada and the United States? Other than the fact that it's really cold up here most of the year? Guns. I've been watching the news. We saw somebody get their hands on an assault rifle, which I guess is legal. You can do that in the US. Doesn't necessarily mean you need a gun, just because you have the rights to own a gun, but people are buying these assault rifles. And somebody walked into that grocery store in Buffalo, New York, and literally shot any person with dark colored skin. A racist attack. We had someone walk into a school in southwest Texas and open fire on what was mostly a group of Latino background children. This Independence Day, which you celebrated, well, they weren't celebrating in North Chicago. Somebody was opening fire from the rooftop into a parade. Violence is the problem. Now, whether you're opening fire on a gay pride event, a grocery store full of black-colored people, or an Independence Day, it's all wrong. The rest of the world is watching the USA, and we're saying, the USA has a problem with violence. Guns, weapons. I don't own a gun. I've never owned a gun. I've never needed to own a gun. And guess what, Richie? I'm a member of one of the most at-risk, marginalized group for violence, the transgender community. Transgender people face 10 times the amount of violence as their non-trans counterparts. But do I feel I need a gun to protect myself? No, not up here in Canada. We have respect for each other. We don't go around opening fire. At least for not nearly as much. We've got, I get it, the USA has 10 times the amount of people that we have here in Canada, but you have 250,000 times as many mass shootings. I don't know how political your comments were meant to be here, whether it was left versus right. There was reference to social things and all that, but just because marginalized groups want equality, it's not threatening you, Richie, or your life. Yeah, I'm angry. I came out as trans. I lost my job. I lost family and friends. I got asked to no longer attend certain groups and organizations. And I haven't hurt anybody. I had a clean criminal record, Richie. Never been arrested. Never broke the law. And I'd like to think I'm a fairly decent person. Sure, I stand up for myself, and I stand up for people like myself who face oppression. But I do so in a civilized manner. I'm not going to get into too much about this Bible thing. But from what I'm aware, Jesus Christ never hated anybody, never blamed anybody, never judged anybody, never discriminated against anybody. And he certainly wouldn't refuse to be somebody's friend because they were a little different than he was. I know you're a pastor of a Christian church out there in Boulder, Colorado. I believe you've done that now for 40 years. So you're a leader, or a perceived community leader, Richie. People come to you and see you as someone, as a good example. And it's interesting. All these Poconuts, most of them who know you would say Richie's a great guy. Yet this is the same guy. When I said, hey, guess what, Richie? I'm trans. All of a sudden, you didn't want to talk to me anymore. And that hurt. The birds out there, they don't seem to care. But you know what? I'm not going to turn around and judge you or attack you or anything like that. I still listen to your records. Heck, I still buy your records. And I still tell people what a great musician you are and the rest of the band, Poco. There's an opportunity here for your music to live on. I think music might be a solution to some of these problems. I like a lot of different type of music. Rock and roll, country rock, heavy metal, and even some classical music. I've been to a lot of concerts over the years in a lot of different cities, in a lot of different countries. I've been in venues. Heck, I was once at a concert that had 450,000 people. And it was all standing room. People were jammed in, packed tight for 12 hours to see, in Toronto, Canada, the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, and several other bands. That was 2003. And this was such a big concert that there were people that traveled from all over the world to be there. I found myself literally jammed up near the front amongst a group of probably 15 people who had traveled all the way from Argentina to be there. But it was great. We had a good chat with these folks. I got to learn a lot about Argentina in between sets. And we even had a friendly little chant going back and forth. They started going, Argentina, Argentina. So then we would go, Canada, Canada. It was all in good fun, and it's amazing. You got people out here that probably don't like each other, can't get along, wouldn't dream of associating with each other, let alone buying each other lunch. But if they like the same band, they're all going to jam into the floor there and in the mosh pit. And I guess that's what makes music so unique. It brings people together. And yeah, there's some musicians out there that use their music to promote negativity and hate and violence and things like that. I think the country rock music genre is definitely not about that. Poco music is designed to bring people together and make them happy, put them in a good mood. And it works. You go to a Poco concert, people are going to come out of there in a good mood saying, that was amazing. It's a chance to park your problems at the door for a few hours and just enjoy the music. If we can get to true equality, why do we have Pride Days? Why do we have Black Lives Matter Days? It's because we don't have the equality. You start treating people equally and respectfully, then we won't need these things. It all comes down to communication. Any type of relationships among humans requires communication. I guess that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm not perfect. And we know you're not, Richie. I read your book. We know you're not perfect either. And it takes a strong person to admit that they've made some mistakes. I'm not here to judge you either. But I do recognize, as someone who has put themselves in a position of leadership, I see you as a tool that can help resolve these concerns that you've raised on your page. If you start communicating, rather than pointing at the people who are different and say, what the hell's wrong with them? Why don't we reach out to them and say, let's have a chat, let's get to know each other. I want to understand why you think differently. I want to understand why you're acting this way. Maybe you'll be surprised. haven't really changed that much since I came out as Jennifer. I've got a few more gray hairs starting to come in on the side there. Put on a few pounds. I'm a lot more self-confident in myself. Why would someone transition? Maybe it's because they have absolutely no other choice. Nobody chooses to be gay. Nobody chooses to be transgender. Nobody chooses to be black. Sometimes you're just born the way you are, and again, society, we put people in these boxes. We've invented this fictitious concept of right and wrong. It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, it's all about conversations. And again, you're right. Maybe it is a few bad apples that are spoiling the perception of the entire Pride community. I can't speak to whatever it is you saw on television. I'm not even sure which city's Pride you were looking at. But if you come to a Pride event in a smaller community in rural Newfoundland, Canada, you're probably not going to see that level of whatever it is you called it, vile, disgusting. We're pretty PG around here, pretty family friendly. Even with that though, I haven't been to Pride here locally for many years because I don't get along with the folks running the organization. There we go. Internal squabbles within a group of people that don't really want to be grouped together. See, I don't judge everybody just because they've been lumped into one particular group. And stay on track. If you want to have a conversation about society and freedom, and the United States of America being a great country, you really need to talk about this violence problem, this gun culture. The fact that you got people openly committing heinous crimes of mass murder against people simply because they're different. None of these shootings were self-defense. These were premeditated, aggressive assaults that were totally unnecessary and uncalled for. That's the problem with America. And deflecting the blame onto other communities is not going to solve that problem. Even giving back hate to these haters isn't gonna solve that. The solution is respect, communication, and love. Is that Jesus Christ's motto? Love thy neighbor. Don't judge thy neighbor. Let God do that. Come on, Richie. It's not too late. I'm offering a handshake. Through the camera? Love to hear from you, pal. It's been a while. The door's open. Anyone else want to have a chat? Feel free to reach out. I'll make time for anyone. So thanks for watching, everyone. Those are my thoughts on Richie's post today, and yeah, let's get some dialogue going here, because I know there's other members of the LGBT community who like country music. It's 10 to 15% of society is allegedly LGBT. And I know at least 10% of that community likes country rock. So it's got to be Poconuts who are LGBT. Maybe they don't feel comfortable coming out. out of the thousands of different Poconuts I met, it's sad to think that people are afraid to be their true selves. That goes for anywhere. Music, sports, politics, whatever. Nobody should have to face discrimination for just being who they are, as long as they're not breaking any laws. Thanks for watching the video, everyone. Have a great day.